What's up, everybody? And we're back with a little bit of, I've been doing, I get a lot of stuff that pops up on my phone of stories and things like that. And I think that's what I'm going to be doing. This is going to be kind of my little, 10 things series, I guess is the best way to put it. I've already put one out. I'm going to do another one here. This one actually comes from a slightly older post by Victor Kobel. Uh, the 10 harsh realities of being a DM. This is D&D, but I think some of these will definitely go more toward, even if you're doing an OSR game, any type of tabletop RPG, this is going to be in there. So it might seem like it's all fun and games, getting to lord over a campaign and its players, but it doesn't come without a plenty of headaches. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, this is definitely true. So let's look and see what they say the top 10 is, and we'll kind of pick it apart from there. DM has to know and uphold all the rules. With this, any rule that's used to play, whether official or home ruled, must be known intimately by the DM. This, I tend to disagree with this just for the simple fact of the brain only holds so much in here. You're not going to know every little minute detail, and this even goes into, they need to also know all the minute ones. The thing is that overall at the table, the DM is quote unquote God. Is the best way to put it. He is the god of this table. He is the referee. He is the yes, no, what's allowed, not allowed, everything all at once. And with that, if you do come in with an argument in the rules, make the call. If players want to say, well, that's not what it says here. Okay, I'm not aware of that. So this is the call for now. We'll look at it after the fact and go from there. So that is more where I come, from when I'm doing DM. If I don't know the rules, specific rule, because there are a lot of little minute, weird, obscure things that are out there. And anybody who's done 3.5, Pathfinder, even like World of Darkness, or any of the White Wolf gaming, or even if you want to look at like the Fantasy Flight stuff for the 40K, even OSR, some of them have some really little weird little things that you may not have thought of, but there are rules for them. So instead of taking the player's time to double check them and look it up, make the call, take care of it after the session. That is the biggest thing that I instill, especially with new DMs. New DMs don't always know exactly what every single rule is going to be. And you may know it as a player. You may, think this is what it is, but what you think it is and what it actually is may be different. So the best way that I can, like I said, make the call, take care of it after the session. All the preparation falls on them. Once again, if you're going to have a good campaign, you do have to do the prep work. Whether it's, a couple hours a night and you playing once a week, once every other week, whatever, it is, you as the DM are kind of the host of the people at the table. And it kind of goes here saying that usually, up to them to host. Yes. So you're going to host them. You're going to bring everything in. Where a player can show up with their character sheet and dice, get going, the DM has to prepare to make sure things are going to run smoothly during the session. They also can't usually ask for a lot of help from the players without running into some of the magic going out of the actual campaign. But there are other resources. So if you know other DMs who aren't in the game, you can run stuff by them. Or, hey, we've got these players. They're doing stuff. You can talk outside of that group and, use that and also use stuff from the players because sometimes players say stuff. Sometimes it's dumb. Sometimes it'd be like, that's a good idea. And you just scribble that down real quick. So, definitely make sure that, when you're doing that prep, yes, if you don't have someone to talk to, you do have people you can reach out to. They have to be able to expect the unexpected with this, definitely, because you could have an entire night planned. They're going to go into this. They're going to go to this place. They're going to go in this room. They're going to have this great hellacious fight. And then they decide they're going to go that way. So no matter how much preparation DM puts into a particular module, there is always going to be one player who manages to think of something they didn't. Perhaps it's a munchkin, a min-maxer, or someone who has a fun idea. Either way, the DM needs to be able to account for unexpected happenings or accidental loopholes the players will find. The best thing of this is a game that my wife was in. It was a high-level game, very Greek troped. So you had the Greek pantheon. They were fighting a 100-handed one, and one of the players managed to stun. Well, she was the next one up. She was a cleric, so she asked for a miracle to keep that 100-handed one stunned, which means he could do next to nothing, and then they just hacked it down. That was the DM's whole night, because it was supposed to be one of the big precipices of what he was running. He does his own home modules and everything, and with that, they were able to take it out in a few rounds instead of lasting the entire night. So, and on that, when they looted him, 100-handed one had 100 Holy Avengers. Well, then that's when Zeus came down and says, nope, those are mine. And, you have to find ways around it to, the other thing here also that they're talking about is prepared for an accidental death. How to keep the players invested. You could even go as far as, invoking, the Marvel type deal of the Coulson effect. Because truthfully, when Coulson died in the Avengers movie, that's what brought all the heroes together. And that you can use that to kind of do that. Even games where it's typically the DM versus the player, I don't believe that there should be any game where it's DM versus the player anyway. That's not how the game's played. You're the referee. You're the one that makes the calls, what's legal, what's not legal. You're the god of the table, pretty much. There are little things worse than rolling badly and then needing to sit and watch everyone else have fun for hours waiting for an opportunity to bring a character in. So the DM has to be able to roll with that. So, and as a DM, you need to find some way of splicing that new player in, to the point of you can have them as, imprisoned where they're at with all their stuff over in one room. The stuff that they have bought and everything else, they've been stripped naked, thrown in the cell, forgotten. And then the players come along, free them. Hey, look, we've got a new person with us. Excellent. That is one of the easiest ways to do that, is to, have a little, forgotten little jail cell. And, even if you're running a module, you can still insert these types of things, because you're the DM. You don't have to, if you're running a full-blown module, you don't have to run it as written. You can adjust things in there, especially if, you're playing, an older module and the players have played in it before. That's a big one. The enjoyment of the players falls back on the DM. This is true, definitely. Because if they're not having fun, they are not going to be at the table long. because they're going to be like, why do I come here every week? I'm not having fun. This is bullcrap and everything else. And like what I do, once again, I've talked about this in other videos, is that I'll sit down and talk with them, in case there's any rules stuff that comes up after the game. We usually have, sometimes it can go on for hours, but I typically don't try to do that. But you have talks about what the actual, what happened that night, if they have questions on the rules, if they also have some issues going, dude, I'm not having fun with this. Find out why. Why aren't they having fun? Why aren't they wanting to put forth that effort in order to, keep coming back to that table? And I'm not talking about, the player agency. It's what are you as a DM missing? Because sometimes, we're doing all the prep, everything else. We're taking care of 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 people at the table. Yes, I have run a game that size. And then you have to look at the entire table and try to figure out, what am I doing not right for these people here? So that's the big thing, is to make sure that you're taking care of them. If players aren't having fun, there's little point of keeping playing. Exactly what I just said. It makes it much harder to try and work schedules when someone spends half their time bored out of their brain. It's all the DM's job to make sure the game is fun and everyone, not just a selective few. And sometimes, and I've seen DMs where they will do story arcs with every player, and the other players that aren't quite in that arc get bored out of their mind. I played in a Gestalt game that was like that, and I got bored with it and said, finally, I was like, bye guys. And for those in 3.5 and Pathfinder who don't know what Gestalt is essentially you're running a dual class. So, for instance, a fighter monk, a wizard rogue, a sorcerer and cleric. So you're basically running a mystic theurge, right off the bat. So it is a more powerful game. It is a more upped game. They have to be able to tell an engaging story. And this I definitely agree with, because if the DM is not able to put the story down for the players to pick up, they're going to be like, eh. A person that can be mostly prepared, has ever been in their life, has designed intricate story tailored to their players, and even set the fun space to play, they still can fall flat if they can't actually tell the story well. There's a bit of storytelling magic that happens when filling the role of the DM. You have to be able to pull them in. Be immersive with it. You're not trying, when I sit down at a table as a player, I want to leave, everything behind that was done, that I've been doing at work, that I've been doing, elsewhere. When I sit down, I want to be able to focus on the game. I want to be able to basically turn my brain off to the real world and focus on this fantasy. I want the escapism. I don't want realism, barring my game. And, truthfully, if you're not able to craft that story for them, there are going to be some tropes that are, basically rooted in real life, but they're just there to kind of keep the hooks in for them to bring them in. And, they have to be able to speak in a way that everyone understands and not sound too bored themselves. So, when you're telling a story, you can switch up with, give characters slightly different voices if you want. I'm not saying go like total goofball, goofy, crazy with it, but, you can definitely, up it by making it more immersive. And that's the big thing, I think, is the immersion level that you're able to give those players. Is when you're DMing, that is one of the keystones there. Because if they don't feel immersed, the immersion, and don't feel that they are truly invested within the story, they're not going to have fun. Uh, find the right balance between too much and too little, and this comes with time. So you can figure out what you want to do with doing the immersion of if you're and it kind of goes back to the last video with the railroading. You don't want to railroad them, but you want to keep them moving along to keep the story moving. And I think that is where that comes back to too much or too little. You don't want to not push them and drop the little hooks and get them to go, but you don't want to get to the point where you're actually railroading them. Determining the most neutral solution to group disagreements. Basically, you can't just sit back and let the table explode. And it can be tempting to side with whoever the DM is closest with in an argument, or even get a big head and lord their DM powers over players when things start getting heated. A good DM is one who can listen, determine the most neutral solution, and stick with those decisions in order to give everybody a fair chance. So, I mean, that comes down to, if they're fighting over, the way that the loot's being split. That's an internal party thing. Let them talk it out. Why isn't the split working? And then you can look at it and go, well, there's 4 people at the table. You're splitting it 5 ways. You've already established, yes, you're going to have a party fund to cover things like incidentals, room stays, transportation, food, stuff like that. Okay, cool. But if they feel like they're not being able to, because they don't feel like they're getting their fair share, then that's when you can sit down and go over things with them. Being a DM is a huge time commitment. I'm not even going to bother reading through this. This is 100% true. Moving on. You also have to be able to multitask efficiently. This is also true. I'm not going to go over this because anyone who's DM knows that, yes, you're going to have to make sure that you're paying everybody the correct amount of attention and not leaving anybody out. Balance skill levels and experience of players. That can be really difficult. This is also true. You don't want to throw, a colossal red dragon at a level 2 party. They're not going to be able to do anything with that. And so you need to be able to tailor the fights to the party with what they are, where they're at, what they're able to do on their own. So that looks like that's the last one for this. I want to thank everybody for taking some time out of your busy schedules to listen. Make sure you do like and subscribe if you are enjoying the content, and I'll catch you next time.